and welcome to Categories Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.categories.com. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and today we're speaking with Voodoo Moonshine Guitarist Jeff Losawyer. Is that how you say the name, Jeff?
Losawyer.
Losawyer, okay.
Everyone messes the last name up. It's all right.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, Jeff, because until your publicist sent me the little press release on the band, I've never heard of you guys, and I'm quite impressed with what I've checked up, and listened to the band. And so, how long has the band actually been around?
Yeah, we took a long break. That's why you hadn't heard of us.
Okay.
Yeah, I formed the band back in 2003, and our first CD, The Decade of Decay, came out in 2005. We played around, toured around with that. Stayed busy for the first few years, and then I took off for a while. I did a solo album, and then just kind of took a break, and then it ended up being a long-ass break, about 12 years, I guess. And so here we are again. And
in that time, I imagine other guys got busy doing other projects as well, huh?
Yeah, they're not in the band anymore.
Oh, okay.
I don't expect it. Yeah, I don't expect anyone to wait around. Our original singer, he ended up retiring.
Oh, wow.
He's making some good money now, and our old drummer ended up going to Every Mother's Nightmare. I played with him for about 6 years, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And so this is all new guys.
Oh, cool. And let me ask you, before we get into the band, what was that like, kind of taking a break and kind of doing your own solo thing for a while?
Well, the solo album was for sad reasons. It was accidental, After I went back home to Oklahoma in 2008, I hadn't been home in 10 or 11 years. I went home because my grandmother had gotten ill.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
She passed away, and then within a 2 or 3 month period, she passed away. A girlfriend passed away. Our original bass player passed away, and about 4 other people. So it was pretty crappy. Yeah. So these songs on the solo album were actually songs that I had written for funerals. And I had a manager at the time. I guess he played it for somebody, and they wanted to put it out. And I really wasn't interested in it. But I told him, you can go ahead and put it out. I wanted all the proceeds to go to the Cancer Society and things like that. I didn't make any money off of it whatsoever. I don't even think you can find it.
I was going to say, good for you, because, sometimes, when you do a project like that, it's not always all about the money. I imagine those songs on that album were obviously quite personal, because, literally, a lot of times, you write songs based on stuff that you experienced, but, those are literally, like, taken out of a page of your life, losing all those people.
Yeah, and it was at that time, because, like I said, I hadn't been home in 10 or 11 years, and, and I went home after all of this busyness with the band, and it was just such a change of peace and quiet and slow, and even with it being, just depressing with everything that was happening, it was a nice change to relax, as far as not rushing around trying to, take care of business all the time. And, ultimately that writing those songs and recording them led to me writing this album. This album, I actually started writing it in 2010.
Wow.
And I had actually completed the album. I went back to Memphis, got a couple of the old guys together, and then got a new singer from England, and we finished it. Well, I got married, and my wife got ill, and they diagnosed her to die within like 6 months. Well, she didn't, but I shelved the CD. I needed to take care of her, so I just put it aside, and so I could get her good doctors and just do the nonstop work thing to pay for all that.
Wow. You've been through some hard years.
Yeah, so it was kind of a shitty decade.
Yeah, I guess so.
A really rough decade, man, I guess. But, I made the right choices. But, so I started the CD back in 2010. And then, I don't know, man, about 4 years later, or 5 years ago, just checking the band websites and stuff, I had gotten some messages from a manager, a big name manager at the time, and he wasn't asking for nothing. He just was letting us know that he liked the stuff, and you know, to be careful in the industry. And I thought, well, you know, I didn't think much of it, you know.
Yeah.
Then about 2 weeks later, I got a message from a big producer that I'd always wanted to work with in the 80s, and he wanted to produce us. And I thought, man, this is social media, man. People are full of crap.
Yeah, wow.
They claim to be people they aren't and all that, but, you know, he got me on a live chat, and he was who he said he was, and he wanted to, you know, produce us. Unfortunately, you know, he wanted way too much damn money. There's a reason he's, you know, well known.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with all this happening, I thought, well, hell, man, I think I need to get the band together. I better find guys, you know, because no one's going to sit around for 7 to 10 years while people go through, you know, whatever in their life and wait around. Musicians don't do it. So this was like a broke-ass version of Guns N' Roses, you know, taking this long to do a CD. But so I started looking around, you know, online for, you know, people, just watching videos, and I came across my singer Pedro doing just a YouTube video, and he was doing a Still Heart song.
Wow.
And it was amazing. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And then I thought once again, well, this is social media. People are full of shit. They can sound great, you know.
Yeah.
So I looked further into some live footage, and it showed him, you know, live, him and his band playing live, doing Steel Heart, and him pulling it off, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, you know. So I contacted him, and him thinking, well, this is social media, this guy's an idiot too. So he kind of held off, and you know, kind of blew me off for a while. And he listened, you know, I sent him the songs, and he listened to them, and I told him, man, I said, this is, you know, I want to redo them, so obviously I don't expect you to sing them the way this singer sang them, make them your own. And
so this is kind of totally a rebranding of a band, because I was just getting ready to ask you, so like the album you've done before is kind of out of print, and this is kind of just starting over fresh with these guys, right?
Yeah, it never, you know, I never released it. I finished it.
Oh, I hear you.
I just shelved it. I never, you know, it was called it had a totally different CD name. It had the same songs, with the exception of 2 or 3 that we've changed up or added for this.
Oh, okay.
But, so the only thing we redid was the vocals and, you know, a couple of guitar parts. So it took another 2 years with Pedro to finish the vocal parts and us to, you know, take our time to pick everything right. And I'm, you know, as much as it was aggravating for me to want to hurry up and get it put out, it was probably the best thing because, you know, we've had great reviews and, you know, a bunch of interviews and, you know, things are going. I tell you what, man, taking the lax approach, we obviously plan things and push it in the direction of what we want to do, but we're not like when we were 19 chasing the dream and shoving a square peg in a round hole. It's, you know, things are falling in our lap as opposed to just beating the hell out of something to make it happen. Yeah,
you know, sometimes it's not about, you know, quantity or rushing the product out. It's about the quality, you know, and when it does come out, people kind of loving what you're delivering to them. And I'd imagine a project that's taken that long to kind of redo and get these new guys in the band and re-record this stuff. I mean, I'd imagine with this new group of guys, it's also kind of got to take it on a new life of what it originally was.
Oh yeah, I was sick of hearing them songs. You know, I mean, having them so long, I was sick of hearing them, and then, you know, we redid them. You know, and it brought a totally different life with Pedro's vocals on it, and, you know, and unfortunately, you know, I had a different guitarist and a different bass player when we put out the first, me and Pedro did Eden in Your Eyes, the first video alone, acoustically, and then we did Locked and Loaded last year before, so I ended up firing the guitar player and bass player. So that stopped everything for another year because then I had to get new guys, you know, change all the press and promo stuff, all the pictures, the CD, you know, so it's like things they don't fall how they're planned, you know, the way these singles have been released, they're all out of order. There's been little fluky things that have happened, but they've happened for the better of the whole band.
But everybody's starting to talk about this band. You know, it's one of those bands you're starting to see a lot of press about. You know, all over. Anybody that's got an online presence, you're starting to read a lot about this band, and I know a huge reason for that is you know, you talk about the people, you know, that are kind of helping behind the scenes. I mean, your publicist, Michael, he's worked he's got quite a history, and he's quite a bit of experience. He's worked with everybody from like Kiss to Britney Spears. So that's just one person who's working with you guys behind the scenes that's kind of got that level of experience.
Yeah, you know, and for not really being, you know, like you said, you hadn't heard about us before, and what we did, you know, back in 2005, 6, 7, and 8 don't mean shit now. Yeah. You know, that's a totally different world. You had no internet presence hardly at all because everything was starting out then. So, you know, to have, well, you know, first and foremost, you have to have your house in order.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got a good team around us. We've got a good band, but you know, I've got Pina that's handling the day-to-day stuff. She's pretty much managing everything. We got Brian Vold. We got New Oceans Media, Tim Binder, and then the people at Dark Star
Records. Yeah, you know, Dark Star Records.
Working well.
Dark Star Records. That's another label. You know, that I'm starting to hear a lot about. I mean, even just to kind of talk about the caliber of that record label. They got Tony Martin, used to be the lead singer of Black Sabbath. He just put out a great solo album. We're releasing a lot of great stuff recently. So you guys got a lot of.
I think it was like number 1 in last week or something on Amazon or Google or something. I don't remember, but yeah, I mean they've got some good bands. I talked to Jeff. The man over there today, and you know we're fixing to release some other unexpected stuff. And yeah, you know, I mean, we're trying to keep business in order. You know, everything down to even merchandising. You know. In fact, your CD is Bottom of the Barrel. It was I think it just came out last week or the week before, and that's been doing pretty good. My question is, can people just get that digitally? Can they order physical copies if they want? Oh no, you can get physical copies. It was released February 4th. We had pre-releases a couple of weeks ago, and we actually sold out of those.
Wow.
And we got another purchase order for more. No, you can get the CD release. You can get it anywhere, of course, on Amazon, Google, Apple, blah, 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 all that. You can, you know, get it through Dark Store. You can buy it directly from us. You know, we did a couple of limited edition versions of this CD, but I'm old. So I like when I used to go and buy records or CDs and read that booklet. Who the hell even did that CD?
Jeff, you and I are of the same mind thought. Maybe it's our age and there we come from, but I grew up.
Yeah, it's not like now, man. The kids just want to download it and then not ever know anything about it. You know. I
mean, I grew up in a day when I'd spend hours, you know, in a record store. You know, you got kids today. What's a record store? What's a record? You know.
I remember going to record stores and buying shit just because the cover was cool. I didn't know who the hell they were, but I thought, wow, that's a cool cover.
Oh yeah, you're taking me back the first time I seen like Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. I knew nothing about Iron Maiden and who they were at the time, but I'm like, man, this looks so cool. I just have to have it, or you know, Kiss Destroyer or Kiss Alive. You know, opening up that double gatefold.
I mean, and so. You know, at our age, you know, because we're obviously older, at our age, us as musicians, I look at it this way. This could be the last thing I do. Not to be negative, but you never know in this industry. So I'm going to do it the way I want. We're going to do it the way we want. And it's going to be kind of self-serving. Luckily, being self-absorbed in that way, people still like it. You know, we're not writing songs going, well, shit, this is really hot on the radio right now, so let's write this.
I mean, I got to tell you, I really love your song. I was just prepping for an interview today, checking out the video for Locked and Loaded, and what a cool song, what a cool video. I mean, it looks like something you would have seen on, you know, MTV back in the day, but I love the way the song kind of starts off. I'll just say, for people to go check it out, it's just got a real patriotic kind of great start to the song. But talk a little bit about the song and the video.
You know, that's another fluke.
Yeah.
That song was released on the first CD.
Oh wow.
And what happened happened was, I told you we had recorded this. I had finished this in 2010.
Yeah.
Well, there was 2 or 3 songs on the CD that Pedro didn't like.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, well, we're obviously not going to do them then. I happened to find, I used to have the external hard drives of the first CD. Well, my old singer had an external hard drive of it. His house got robbed and they stole it.
Oh, wow.
About 4 months later, my house got robbed and they stole it too. Wow. So all files are lost. I can't even remix any of that CD. Well, when I first started talking to Pedro, I had a file disc of Locked and Loaded. I had forgot about it, because like I said, Pedro took 2 years to finish up his stuff. Well, we had 9 songs. We were 1 song short from wanting to put out 10. And he messaged me one day and said, "Do you have the lyrics to Locked and Loaded?" I'm like, "Yeah." I sent them to him. A couple of days later, he sent it back to me done. He said, "There's 10 songs. I'm done now." So it was an accident.
What an amazing story, and that makes it that much more cooler. Because again, I'm like you, I could see why you kind of have a feeling like, a 9-track album, that's kind of nice, but 10 would be perfect,
Right. Well, and just so you know, when we released that video, we shot 2 videos. One was for Bring It Down. That was the single that we released at the time.
Oh, okay.
Well, the production company didn't get footage of Pedro's vocals at the beginning of the song, so we had to axe the video. So I'm like, well, shit, we got this video done, so let's just go ahead and put this out. So now, Bring It Down, we had to redo it, so now Bring It Down's being re-released again. Bring It Down had won Crank It Up Song of the Year last year.
Wow.
So now we're re-releasing it again now that we're with Dark Star. And now we had to redo Bring It Down videos, so it's going back in circles. There's nothing that's been, regular road with any of this stuff.
And what's kind of cool about that? I'd be interested to see when you re-release the song, if it if it charts higher or about the same or what.
If it what?
If it charts like about where it did last time, or if it charts, people think it's a new song and the band's got a new album and it charts.
Yeah, I mean, right now, that's the new video for Bring It Down on Dark Star. I think it's been viewed 60,000 times, and that's about 40,000 more than Locked and Loaded.
I'll have to check it out. Wow.
Plus then on our page, we're at like 4,500 plays in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Pedro just won Vocalist of the Year, and that had a lot to do with that song. So yeah, we're gonna see. We're gonna write it out for a couple of 2 or 3 months and see how that song charts and what it does.
So let me ask you, when you got all the new guys in the band and you got together and recorded this, the new version of the album that's out now. You guys all live near each other? Or do you like close by, or are you kind of scattered all over?
No, man. No, I think the key to the long lifespan of a band is not to live near each other.
Yeah.
But no, all those guys are in Florida, but I'm the one. Like I said, I'm from Oklahoma. I live up in Georgia. I want to be out in the mountains and stuff. So when we got something planned or we're going to do something, I go into Florida or they come here and then we do it. But, we've been all playing for, 30 plus years, so we don't have to rehearse every day.
No.
We have to, we all try to be professional enough to have our own craft down. We are writing for, I want to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, there you go.
Writing for a new CD.
Yeah.
So I fly in or drive in, or they come in when, we did 4 festival shows at the end of last year. So basically we rehearse a couple of days and then we go do them.
Yeah, so I guess what I was asking too.
It keeps things fresh also, because everyone's living their lives and doing their thing, and they get inspired their way to come up with, ideas, and then we throw them in the pot.
So like recording wise, when you guys were recording the album and that, like, were you all like in the same location? You do like modern day by Zoom? Does everybody got their own recording studio in their house?
Well, like I said, Pedro was the only one that re-recorded anything.
Oh, okay.
So Pedro has his own studio. So once all the tracks were done for him, I went down to Florida, and our producer's down there. His name's Sean Shannon. He's Molly Hatchet and Pat Travers, the old drummer.
Wow. Okay.
And so we went down there and just mixed it up and finished it up down there.
How cool is that? Now, like that's great that you're working towards a new album already. You got that attitude, dude, because everything you've been through, it took just to get this one album, put together of all the, heartaches you've been through and stuff. I mean, hopefully you won't go through that again. I mean, you've already kind of had the Guns N' Roses experience of like making Chinese Democracy.
Yeah, I figure we need to go ahead and write it now because, it's a lot easier to write at home as opposed to, in the bathroom on a tour bus or in a hotel room. So, we want to try to get as much quality stuff because there's a lot of issues with, a sophomore album, which really, this will be this version of the band's sophomore album, but third album altogether for Voodoo Moonshine. But there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of sophomore albums fall short because they're having to be rushed.
Yeah.
And luckily, we're not going to put ourselves in that position.
And let me ask you, because I imagine it has a lot to do with where you come from, Jeff, but talk a little bit about the band's name, Voodoo Moonshine. I just kind of love it. I mean, what a cool name.
Dude, it's just the name I put together. I wish I had some deep meaning for it. I thought it was cool. Originally the band was going to be called Peace Pipe Tribe, because I wanted just these... I'm a big acoustic player, choir songs and just sitting around the campfire playing songs. And I write all my songs, even the heavy ones, on acoustic. So it was, the stuff I was writing to me was like some, mystical, drunk, high, vibe, just laid back feeling, and I come up with those words, man. And what's funny is most of the guys in the band thought the name sucked, and now everyone loves it, So
it's quite different. It gets people talking. I think, at least, I know when I was first reading up on the band, I was like, Voodoo Moonshine, what's that? And then I'm reading, from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm like, oh wow, okay, maybe it's something to do with where they're from.
Yeah, no one knows where to really tag us from. I started the band in Memphis, and then I slowly moved to Nashville, and then now I'm out near Atlanta, and the guys are in Florida, so it's, we're a mutt band, I suppose.
Kind of can't pigeonhole you, and that's a cool thing to me because, a lot of times when you're listening to band for the first time, you're like trying to figure out, what does this band remind me of? Who do they sound like? And in your case, I call it kind of swampy, kind of... southern fried rock. That's kind of my best description, but you can't really pigeonhole it. It's a little bit of everything.
Well, that's cool. I appreciate that. Which is funny because Pedro and Hector are Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
They're into Pedro's into. Hector's into real heavy stuff. Pedro's into jazzy stuff. You got Eddie, the drummer. He's from Chicago.
Wow.
And yet the songs sound, like you said, swampy, southern type rock.
Yeah.
One good thing is everyone that's compared us to someone it's always different.
Which I think is a cool thing.
Every interviewer or reviewers, they say Tesla, then they say Taiketo, then they say Whitesnake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, even Tesla's one of those.
None of them have said, "Well, the band just sucks."
Even Tesla's one of those bands that kind of try to. It's very hard to pigeonhole them because they've got everything from, like you're saying, everything from acoustic rock to full blown on metal and blues and everything in between.
Well, Tesla, when I was out in LA back in '89, my singer at the time, he was a Poison guy, and I was Tesla. That was the only band he was concerned. If I ever got offered a job, I'd be gone with them. Because they were just blue jean rock and roll. There's no gimmicks. It was just good songs.
Oh yeah, songwriting all the way.
And that's what I wanted us to, be about. And when I talk to the guys, I say, look, I want us to be like, I don't know, Eagles, Queen. Is one of those bands that can just do anything. They could do a polka. They're not pigeonholed into just doing one thing.
It's funny you mention Queen. You take a band like Queen. They got everything from a song like, Stone Cold Crazy, which is probably the closest thing they ever did to a metal tune, and then they got like Somebody to Love.
Oh yeah, and play the the game, and then you got a song. They have a hit that doesn't even have music in it; it's just got drums.
Yeah.
We will rock you. I mean, you can't do that now. And look at the Eagles. I mean, they start out country, and then they got some shit like Desperado, and then Hotel California, Life in the Fast Lane. There's no limit. But the scene is different now. Back then, you had the labels behind you to let you grow and mature. You know, now record labels, man, if you don't get them a huge hit, you know, one after another within a couple albums, you're dropped.
Yeah.
You know, back in the 70s and that time, you know, they gave you 5-6 albums, you know, to find your thing.
I mean, Kiss even, you know, if they were signed now, they probably wouldn't have even lasted 50 years. You know, they were still struggling by the time they put out, you know, Kiss Alive 1.
And that was an accident. I mean, what got them that what made them huge was their live show and their gimmick, their look.
Which is funny because you hear all these.
Their show was so strong that their albums to that point, studio albums, hadn't done anything. You know, so like you said, had they been signed now, they'd already been dropped. Yeah,
which is funny because you know,
the market's so rough right now, and you know, for us musicians, it's even harder to make any money because of all the streaming stuff. So it's a necessary evil. You got to deal with Spotify, but then Spotify don't pay you anything.
Well,
but if you aren't on Spotify, then someone in Indonesia's never heard of you. You know, so it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, you know, talk about the power of internet. I mean, that's one thing that's kind of different from when, you know, you first got your band together. Is like you said, you didn't have internet back then, and now it's very possible that you have people listening to your CD in parts of the world that you never even stepped foot in or done a live show, and that's got to be a pretty amazing feeling, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, 2 days ago, I did an interview in Germany and Australia all in the same day.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So the stuff's getting out there, and if it wasn't for the internet, it wouldn't be at all. You know, so it's a good thing, and it's also, you know, it can be rough as far as bootlegging our stuff and things like that.
And we kind of touched on this throughout the interview today, but before I let you go, I just kind of want to talk to you, Jeff, about you know, not just the bands that influenced you, but who are some of your guitar heroes, the guys that you looked up to when you were growing up?
Well, you know, I'm more influenced by songs.
Okay.
You know, than just guitar players. I mean, because listen, I mean, Randy Rhoads was my, you know, I studied him when I was real young. Yeah. And of course, when I was starting out to learn to play, I studied everybody that I could. But you know, those guys, Steve Vai and Yngwie and all them, they can go as far as they can, but a song will last forever. Hotel California will never go away. Stairway to Heaven will never go away. People will forget, unless they're a musician, most of these guitar heroes.
Oh, yeah.
So I was more influenced by, I mean, Jim Croce. You know, singer-song guys that could play an acoustic guitar, sing, and sound like an orchestra. You know, so I was more influenced by that. You know, like I said, Randy Rhoads, Jakey Lee, those guys. I loved those guys. And then in the '80s, you know, when I was first starting out, there were so many guys. You know, and they were all GIT grad, guitar hero, LA guys, you know, so there were so many of them.
Oh, yeah, you know, it's funny, you talk about a guy like Jakey Lee. I mean, he was with Ozzy and Rad and all those great 80s bands back in the day, but, you know, after the 90s, you know, he goes away for about 20 years before he does anything else and just kind of disappears, but, you know, he's the kind of guy that can do that. And it's funny you bring up Steve Vai. I was just reading up on Steve Vai. He just put out a great new solo album. I got it, and I was reading. This is when he released the album last week, or whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago. It went to #1, and he's like, "It's the first time in my career, which is about, you know, I've been doing this for about 30, 40 years. Finally got a #1 album after 30, 40 years of doing it."
It's pretty amazing that happens. I mean, because it's hard to do that when you're an instrumentalist. I mean, it really is. You know, I'm so, I don't want to say anti-guitarist, but I really am. I mean, I had been looking for a guy that could take over all the lead spots and let me be the old guy jamming in the back.
Wow.
You know? I don't have the ego, or I got to do the solos, and because to me it's more important to be remembered as a songwriter than it is someone who does a 20-second lick.
I'm with you because again, yeah.
So I'm kind of different when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, all the bands I grew up listening to, I mean, everything from like, Kiss, Aerosmith, Whitesnake. I listened to everything too, from like Beatles and Tom Petty. Great songwriters. And like you said, these are stuff this music you grew up on. You hear it every day on the radio. It's stuff we remember. And you don't necessarily remember somebody's guitar solo.
Yeah, I didn't realize it till the older I've gotten. Hell, I remember Peaches and Herb and Donna Summer and all this disco crap my mother was playing that I just didn't know was going on in the background.
Yeah.
And somehow I can still remember it and go, hey, that really wasn't a bad song. Everyone makes fun of it, but it's, you're influenced and you don't realize it, because I never sat down and listened to Jim Croce. Yeah. But right now, I would rather put a Croce CD in as opposed to something I just wore out in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I guess you end up growing up into being your dad, because I can't really get into a whole lot of the new bands. Maybe it's just because I'm set in my ways like my dad, who knows?
I think a lot of us are. And, so that's interesting. You kind of consider yourself of a songwriter. Let me ask, when you sit down and write a song, do you get involved like with writing the lyrics as well? Do you, when you're demoing your songs, do you kind of like do a vocal track so you kind of get an idea how the song's going to sound?
Oh, yeah. A lot of the songs on this album I wrote the lyrics to. Pedro wrote the vocals to 2 of them.
Oh, wow.
The rest of them was either I wrote the lyrics or it was a collaboration with my old singers, being leftover songs, obviously. But no, I'll write the lyrics too. And there's no, I have no pattern of how I write. I may come up with the music idea first, or I may just come up with a lyric line and then write the music around it. There's just really no pattern to it. It's just however it falls about,
And that's why it works. Well, Jeff, I really enjoyed getting to know you and chatting with you today. Like I said, the interview will be going up on my site in about 2 weeks or so. I'll let Michael know once it goes up. You're at that point more than welcome to post out any of your sites. If you're happy with the way the interview went today, let's keep in touch and we can do it again next time you have a new video or single out.
Sure, sounds good, man. Yeah, and if you need any other pictures or anything, feel free to message Michael and we'll get them to you.
And just to let people know, they can find you on Facebook and online. You want to let them know where they can find you guys?
Yeah, the main band website is VoodooMoonshineRocks.com. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, /Voodoo Moonshine, Voodoo Moonshine Productions. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and all the other places that I don't deal with.
Okay, yeah.
We're all over, but just drop us a line.
Okay, well, take care again, Jeff. It's great talking to you, and then maybe we'll do it again down the line. Take care, my friend.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.